All right, we're doing Proverbs 14 this evening. The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. Whoever fears the Lord walks uprightly, but those who despise him are devious in their ways. A fool's mouth lashes out with pride, but the lips of the wise protect them. Where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox comes abundant harvests. An honest witness does not deceive, but a false witness pours out lies. The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge comes easily to the discerning. Stay away from a fool, for you will not find knowledge on their lips. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. Fools mock at making amends for sin, but goodwill is found among the upright. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end leads to death. Even in laughter, the heart may ache, and rejoicing may end in grief. The faithless will be fully repaid for their ways, and the good rewarded for theirs. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. The wise fear the Lord and shun evil, but a fool is hot-headed yet feels secure. A quick-tempered person does foolish things, and the one who devises evil schemes is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Evildoers will bow down in the presence of the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor are shunned even by their neighbors, but the rich have many friends. It is a sin to despise one's neighbor, but blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. Do not those who plot evil go astray, but those who plan what is good find love and faithfulness. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. The wealth of the wise is their crown, but the folly of fools yields folly. A faithful witness saves lives, but a false witness is deceitful. Whoever fears the Lord has a secure fortress, and for their children it will be a refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death. A large population is a king's glory, but without subjects a prince is ruined. Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. When calamity comes, the wicked are brought down, but even in death, the righteous seek refuge in God. Wisdom reposes in the heart of the discerning. Wisdom reposes in the heart of the discerning, And even among fools, she lets herself be known. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin condemns any people. A king delights in a wise servant, but a shameful servant arouses his fury. So that's Proverbs 14, right? The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down, right? Living in a day and age where the divorce rate is almost like 40% or something like that, and most of the time it's for a stupid reason. I think that one's pretty relevant, right? You and your wife, leave your father and mother, you enter a covenant with each other, have kids, start a life, and you build your house, right? But if somebody's just, oh, well, it's my happiness over everybody else's, or I don't feel this certain way anymore or anything like that, right? And they just up and leave and tear their family apart, congratulations, you've torn your house down, right? And if you've torn your house down, then where are you going to go whenever there's rough times? You need a house to be able to take shelter in, right? Does the Lord forgive people for getting divorced for the wrong reasons, things like that? Yeah, because He forgives every sin. And you don't want to be unequally yoked to somebody, right? That's in the Bible too. But that being said, where it says the foolish one tears it down, yeah, it's easy to destroy your own life by violating the trust between you and the person you're supposed to be in a covenant relationship with. A fool's mouth lashes out with pride, but the lips of the wise protect them. Man, people take pride in the wrong stuff all the time, right? There's even a whole subset of culture that has hijacked the word pride, right? To be able to brag about their lifestyle and stuff like that doesn't align with biblical principles. I think a lot of the time, some of the people who are super loud about trying to convince people that they're living right or that they're always correct, or you need to listen to them or something like that, and this goes for anybody, right? It talks about a fool's mouth lashes out with pride. They are so proud that they think that they know something that nobody else has. They drown out any doubts that they have by being louder than anybody else in the room. Because when it says, "But the lips of the wise protect them," man, a lot of these proverbs seem like for you to be the wise one in the room, right? You just got to shut up and listen. Not speak, and knowing when to speak and when it is time to speak, and saying the right thing, right? Guarding your tongue, which for me, right? I ain't gonna lie, that's really hard. Like, I lost it today. Let a couple of 4-letter words that were fairly foul fly from getting ticked off at something at work, right? But thankful that Lord's still working in me too. Yeah. Where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox comes abundant harvest, right? Manger was kind of like your barn back then, right? It's kind of your feeding trough in your barn. You know, if you're familiar with the birth of Christ, he was born in a manger, right? In a barn. It's this little trough shindig thing that you put hay in for your animals to eat out of. And so if you don't have any animals in your barn, right, you don't feed them, then you don't have to feed them. And if you don't have to feed them, manger's empty, right? Barn's clean, pristine. On the outside, it looks fantastic, but it's not serving its purpose because you don't have any animals in there to do work with, right? It's kind of like that axiom a lot of people say today, you know, where it's like ships aren't meant to stay in a harbor, right? They're meant to sail rough seas. I think it's kind of going for the same thing, where if you were actually productive and you're putting in effort, and you're useful and you're taking care of those around you by providing things of that nature, it's going to be a little bit messy, and there's always going to be some effort to clean up that mess, right? Because newsflash, we can't do everything perfect, but it's not an invitation to not do anything. Just that on the outside your barn looks clean, whenever on the inside it's because you're not feeding any animals, you're not taking care of anybody, you're not doing anything, you ain't being productive, you're not contributing or anything like that. Let's see. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. You want to have people that you can mentor with, right? That you can go through life with, that you can encourage and be encouraged by. That being said, whenever you're bitter about something, whenever you're messed up by something, right? Whenever your heart's in turmoil, as much as somebody else loves you, they really won't be able to share in that fully the same way as what you're experiencing, right? And that being said, nobody can really be as happy for you as you are for you, right? You can't be happy for somebody, because if you could be honest with you, suicide rate in the world would be a whole lot lower. That's something to keep in mind, I think, right there. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end leads to death. And that one's verse 12 in Proverbs 14. I think that's honestly one of the biggest things that shows up in the Bible again and again and again and again and again, from the fall of man all the way to the very end, right? What appeared to be right was wanting to be as wise as God and eating the forbidden fruit, right? On the surface, yeah, being like God, that's a good thing to aspire to, right? Except in the wrong context, and he told you explicitly not to do it, so it was wrong, even if on surface level it looked like it was right. Hey, Abraham and Sarah, right? God told Abraham he was going to be the father of nations, and he didn't have his first biological kid with Sarah until like 20 years after that promise was made. And in between that time, Sarah at one point said, "Hey, here's my female servant, sleep with her, get her pregnant, and that's how we're gonna fulfill this promise from God." So Abraham took her up on that offer, and they had a kid, Ishmael, and it did not end well. It turned into a whole Jerry Springer episode, right? So hey, it might have appeared right at the time on, hey, Sarah's, I think like 60 or 80 years old or something like that, right? Which is way past the prime of, having kids when you're supposed to, biological clock. So it appeared right on, hey, she can't have kids, so this is one way to be able to do it. But they were trying to replace one of God's miracles with something that made sense to them at the time. Right. And I think that you can see that again and again and again and again and again throughout the Bible and people's lives, where, why'd you do that? It seemed like a good idea at the time, right? Okay, cool. It seemed like a good idea, but it doesn't align with what's in this word. Probably not a good idea, right? I think that's where a lot of faith steps in, where even if it doesn't make sense to do something or to not do something, that's where faith comes in on, you're doing your part as absolutely best you can, and God's going to provide because he said he would, right? And it's probably not going to be on your timing, and it's probably not going to be the way that you're expecting it, but it will be what you need when you need it. There's way too many stories of God watching out for folks in big and small ways like that, right? There was a ministry I was following that does disaster relief, and that Hurricane Helene came in, right? And they started running out of supplies for helping local residents that literally lost everything. And I think that they said there was a story where a guy said, hey, without a generator, he's literally going to die, right? For medical purposes, and he wasn't going to die slow. So if he didn't get a generator within a certain amount of time, he was just going to kill himself, just so that he wouldn't suffer. And they prayed on it, and literally 5 minutes later, a truck pulled up, and he was like, hey, I got 5 generators in the back, and a couple cans of propane, stuff like that, where you want them, right? Stuff like that. Provision's always going to come, but it's probably not going to come in the way that you want it. It's probably not going to come on your timing, but it will come when you need it, and it'll be what you need, right? So remember that there's a way that appears to be right, but in the end leads to death. If you're not sure what it is, pray on it, meditate on it, compare it against this word. And if you just stick to something that you think that God has called you to, that God has called you to, stick to it fully, right? Don't half but two things, whole but one thing. All right. All hard work brings a profit. Mere talk leads only to poverty. Don't just talk, right? You got to do something. One thing that kind of gets under my skin a little bit is whether it's at work or in the church or wherever, right? Something will happen, everybody will get together, brightest minds of the age, and everybody talks and oohs and ahs and comes up with, the solution to world hunger and everything like that, right? And then absolutely nobody executes on it. Okay, it doesn't matter what you talk about, right? It matters what you do. There's discussions that need to take place, and that kind of, and being able to talk right and hash things out has its place for sure, undoubtedly. But if all you're doing is talking, then you need to step your game up. Let's see. Whoever fears the Lord has a secure fortress, and for their children it will be a refuge. Whenever you've got a good relationship with God, right, your kids will pick up on it, I think. And then whenever you're operating righteously, the blessings that you have, you get to steward that for your kids, right? Hey, Bible says not to get into an incredible amount of debt. Cool. Even though we got to go without a little bit right now, or manage our money different, or not do as much of this, or not eat out as much, or whatever it is, right? But we eventually get out of debt and stuff like that. And now I'm not a slave to a credit card, and I can actually spend time with my kids doing the things that matter. In not being a liar or a cheat or anything like that. I'm not taking off people who are trying to come after me and get their pound of flesh that I owe them, right? That I'm trying to dodge or anything like that. Like, whenever you're living more secure, it makes a more secure thing, or makes a more secure life for your kids, right? Let's see. I guess that's about what I got for Proverbs 14. Appreciate y'all.